So you mentioned that a lot of the decisions that you make at TradingView are they're objective. And so how do you find that mix of knowing that this is, or being able to discern this is a vocal minority that's telling us to build this one small niche thing that's going to distract us versus something that could have, is that the intuition of experience of knowing what people actually really need, or?
Yeah, so what customer feedback is actually worth taking? That is like the biggest question for sure. Yeah. No, that's a $1 billion question for sure. I would say in general, the biggest advantage to being big is literally that. Because we get so much customer feedback now, we don't really need to weed out, say, the bad eggs or the good eggs, because we can see an average. And in this case, you're not optimizing for a couple key customers, but across the board, our support system, I think we have something like 3,500 tickets a day. So in which case, these are support tickets or request tickets that basically people are, hey, I need this, or hey, this is broken, or hey, fix this. So the scale is really like
that's the benefit. You just get to see where all the problems are.
I would say, but that's not always true. When you are a small platform, and important for small platforms to realize, there is a certain element of intuition, which is, being able to talk to enough customers that you start to recognize patterns. Even if you don't have thousands of customers, you still have to kind of aggregate all that information and think about, okay, across maybe these 150 customers, what is the most common thing that comes up? That's really like the early stage mentality. You got to trust your intuition on that. But like I said, the chief product officer at TradingView has been doing this. Before this, he built another product called eSignal. Before this, he built another product called Multicharts. So he's in the trenches enough to talk to as many customers as humanly possible, and thus has a really clear understanding, I think, of what's the threshold for, is this worth my time or not, basically. Yeah.
I mean, coming from Multicharts, if you really think about the inception of digital charting platforms, so he's seen it from the very beginning, and so I feel like that's an edge. So it's incredible that he's able to humble himself, even though he's a pioneer.
Totally.
Because the pioneers typically have the most perspective and the most context.
Yeah.
So that's really awesome. So what do you feel like drives him to do that? Is it a love for the product? Is it an obsession? Or is it just a logical understanding that customer feedback is the direct route to progress? Like, is it a personal thing, or?
Yeah, no. I mean, I think to talk about what drives him specifically, I mean, you have to think about who he is. He's just a lover of product in general. He's like a Tesla fanboy. He's like a huge, he loves like products like Figma, which is like a very, very nice intuitive design product. I think he, in abstract, really loves product for itself. And so it doesn't even really apply to markets. His whole philosophy is just being the best at whatever product we're building ultimately is. I think if he was in any other category, he would be the exact same person.
That's
which
awesome.
Is like, he just like wants to build the most flawless product possible. And so our design team is a reflection of that. Like, they are all meticulous and like really, really refined in how they actually pick out. Like, I actually was on Slack the other day, and there was like this huge debate about the future of beveling edges for our website design, and whether or not it should be a very, very curved edge or a kind of a more slight edge. We're talking a difference of maybe 10 pixels, and we had probably 50 different people arguing all in parallel as to the benefits and costs of each decision. And so that's the degree of like separation between like obsession versus people are like, it's good enough. Like, it'll work. Who cares? Yep. They literally obsess over the details, and it becomes kind of an art form in that case. Like they're operating on a completely different wavelength, and people are like, whatever. It looks good. Like, no worries.
But I think that 1% that is overly obsessed and perfectionist but takes action versus those that use perfectionism as a crutch to not do anything. Is like, oh, it's not ready yet. It's not ready yet.
Yeah, true.
That's what I feel like is the difference between the small companies that are going to hear this and say, oh, we got to sit down and deliberate. No, sometimes you really just have to get projects moving, and I think it's really important. So speaking of partnerships, TradingView first had like the integration platform with some of the large brokerages, but now I'm seeing a lot of small scale companies integrating TradingView on their sites.
Yep.
So talk to me about those recent partnerships and where are you guys building out this platform for companies like ours to work?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we had to start with the big guys. That's kind of how we, broke through, if you will. Kind of, if you really have to chase some whales down in order to reach escape velocity. I think that's clear to say. But I mean, now that we are as large as we are, we've definitely grown up, and we've matured in terms of how we build partnerships with various firms. I mean, my team overall globally is about 17, 18 people who just specialize in different regions. So we have somebody specializing in Thailand. We have somebody in Australia. We have somebody in, 2 people in Japan. We have a couple people in China. And they are all kind of local experts into markets and help us localize what we do on a global scale such that we can really make the most impact on a local market. So we've matured that model, and now we're able to go after smaller and smaller companies to work with because we actually have local expertise combined with our central kind of partnerships team that allows us to really scale the effort in a meaningful way. In total, though, I mean, it's still a small team. We have about 35 people on the partnerships or business team. I think in general, we want to do better. We always want to do better. But the key factor that we started to separate out was, again, regional specificity and then product expertise. And so product expertise is we now have product leads for each individual part of the product suite that we build. You wouldn't really know if you just came in the front door, which is TradingView.com, but TradingView actually has about 7 different businesses built around it, everything from licensing of technology to affiliates, to advertising, to strategic partnerships, to data integrations, to brokered integration. It's insane. And so we really had to build out a specialist team as well. So now we have a crack staff of 1 or 2 experts per business line that can really speak the local language quite literally in terms of what the product is, but also in a local regional market. That's allowed us to really expand kind of our reach, and something I'm really proud of actually over the last couple of years that we continue to execute on. So, I mean, in total now we have on a global basis about 8,000 partnerships, which is everything from random tech startup who launched a Bitcoin mining operation to some of the largest brokerages and exchanges in the world. Right, the scale is pretty insane, and I mean it just comes down to really making it very, very repeatable and off the shelf. But then you have to have that local hand holding expertise as well.